All right, welcome back to Bitcoin to the People. We are here today with a very special guest, Dia Reskita, and let me know if I'm saying your last name right. She is an Indonesian Bitcoiner and close to our heart because Isaac is half Indonesian. So when we found your account, we were like, all right, we've got to get her on and chat with her. So Dia, tell us and our family, they're going to be, Indonesian families are going to be listening in on this intently. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, nama saya Dea. My name is Dea. I'm actually in Indonesia. I grew up in Java, but currently I live in Bali, in Indonesia. And yeah, I've been involved, or at least like when I started buying Bitcoin, that was in 2016. And before that is just, me being curious about this new technology, and then, in Indonesia. And I think in like any other countries, it's really hard to send and receive money from abroad. So in the beginning, I used Bitcoin for that purpose, to send and receive money from my client abroad. And it's been open my eyes, it's a really life-changing, I guess. But my journey to start educating Indonesian about Bitcoin is started in 2020 during the pandemic. Obviously, a lot of people are, confused about what's happening in the world, and they're also trying to figure out like how they can save their money, how they can store their wealth. So Bitcoin is one of the things that has been very helpful for me in the past, and obviously up until now. So I was really passionate to share it to amongst my friends, and in the end, it's just become bigger, and we run conferences about Bitcoin in Indonesia. We do like meetups as well, and it's been very fun, and it's been a very rewarding journey.
I had a quick question about that, because I think, so you mentioned it was really useful for clients. And was it a specific use case for you that you sort of, obviously you said you were curious, but was it also anything specifically that really worked for you? Was it that sort of transactions?
Yeah. So previously, before pandemic, I run like a travel agency business. So I help people to come, like groups to come to Bali, and then I arrange their accommodation and their itineraries basically. And obviously they will need to send me money far ahead. It was really very stressful, because the only way for me to receive money was one, PayPal. At that time, PayPal is the most reliable, or TransferWise, but still not all bank account in Indonesia can receive money from TransferWise. So I was looking for different ways, I guess, alternative to receive money. And then I stumbled upon, there is actually like a class about Bitcoin. So there's a co-working space that run a Bitcoin class, and then they have a Bitcoin ATM downstairs. So I decided to attend, and then it was really, it seems so simple. So then I bought my first Bitcoin on a Bitcoin ATM.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah. So it's not very common. Like most Indonesian, they start buying Bitcoin in an exchange, but I bought it in ATM. It was really cool, because at that time it was 2016, 2017 when it started the bull run, like the last halving. So the price goes up. So I put money in there, and then the next morning I saw like, oh my God, there, the price goes up. So, but I wasn't really understand at that time, so I just kept spending my Bitcoin.
Good for you.
Yeah, because I thought like, oh, I'm rich. But it was, apparently that's not the way it is. So but the use case, I have several clients who actually pay me in Bitcoin. So it was very interesting, because I have a client who pay me in PayPal, and then I have another client who wants to pay me in Bitcoin. So I send their invoice at the same time. The one person who who's paying through PayPal, it took 10 days for the money to
Wow.
And then
right.
they rob you for 5% or 7%.
Yes, they rob me, and then it takes so long, and then obviously PayPal exchange rate is so different, so like I lose a lot of money. While the other client who pay me through Bitcoin, we just set up like a Skype call or like Zoom call, and then we just decided, okay, this is the rate in Indonesia at this time, and this is the rate in Korea at that time. So then I send the invoice through a Skype call, and then he scanned my code, and I
Wow.
received that money within
Oh,
I don't know,
wow.
2-3 minutes. Like, it's, even though it's unconfirmed, but like, okay, I receive it. So then I went to there is a Bitcoin exchange in Bali where you can exchange Bitcoin with cash. So I went there and then, receive cash. So
Wow.
that's like, for me at that time, like, this is very game changing for, because I don't lose money. It was really instant. And yeah, no one can, no one can stop the transaction because, like with other type of payments, sometimes if they found, oh, this invoice has wrong name, then the money's bounced back. Or if they think it's suspicious, the money doesn't come through, etc.
Yep. No, that is, and it happens everywhere. I'm sure it happens more outside of the US and in Europe, but I'm like, it happens everywhere and you just don't know. We were waiting for a credit card payment to post this week. And because we did it on a Friday and it was a weekend, the holiday, and it still hasn't posted. I mean, it's 5 days. This is old technology. So that's a really cool story. I love to hear the stories about people really transacting in it, because Bitcoin is different things to everyone in different countries. I'm like, in the US, we're lucky, for now, that it is, a store of value. But in other countries, it's a really great way to be a medium of exchange.
I wish we had more, because I think the travel, I've worked in travel for many years, and it's, I think, one of the most obvious use cases, like you said, the travel in international payments. It's so clear and it should be used so much more, but that's another conversation. Maybe another time we have more time for it.
Yeah, we dated long distance, and like, oh my God, to try to like do anything. And it's a US to the Netherlands, and it was like, ugh. So yeah, where was Bitcoin then? All right, cool. So tell me a little bit about the work that you are doing and may still be doing in Indonesia with your meetups and your education. Like what are how are you getting people to come together, and what's the response been?
Yeah, so I founded this portal for education called Class Bitcoin. So because I think not only in Indonesia, but also people around the world, there's a lot of good content out there about Bitcoin, but it's in English, and not many people speak English, or like they can understand English, but to really deeply understand about very complex subject, they need to learn that in their own language. So that is essentially what is Class Bitcoin. We create like classes, like what is Bitcoin, how you can store your Bitcoin, this type of series, but it's in Bahasa Indonesia. And we also like create blog posts about current issues, because in Indonesia, cryptocurrency is quite popular right now. A lot of people know about it, especially during the pandemic time. That's how people trying to make money, basically, because because of the current economic situation. But there are too many noises out there. People fall into scam. People fell into shitcoin, I guess. Like
Yes.
they buy like weird coins name that I don't even heard. I never heard about it before. So the main idea is just to educate people, and then try to make them understand why Bitcoin first. Because I mean, I never what is it called, like if people want to gamble their money, it's their choice, I guess, but they need to understand that they are gambling their money, and it's not about and it's totally different strategies, totally different things if you want to save your money and then you want to gamble. So basically just to give understanding about that. And through that journey, like, I met wonderful people. There are a lot of Bitcoiners as well in Indonesia, but they are kind of scattered everywhere. So we thought, okay, like, let's get together, let's meet and then learn from each other, because we also learning right now. I mean, there are no Bitcoin guru, or like the only person who can tell what Bitcoin is. So come together and then learn from each other. That's the main thing. So we create an association, actually. We create a community called the Indonesia Bitcoin Community. And then we run conferences. So last year we ran our first Bitcoin conference, and there was Safidin become one of the speaker,
Oh, cool.
Robert Breedlove as well. And then, yeah, like all the exchanges in Indonesia also like really happy about us running the conference, because in Indonesia, there are a lot of conferences, but most of the conferences are, again, selling shitcoin and then just a marketing that branded as a conference. So this is a very education-based conference. So we run that, and then we have this community where we have a Telegram group. So we just share article, discuss about things in a Telegram, and then every 2 weeks we run like a virtual meetup, so everyone can attend, and then we discuss like different topics. So it's been very, very cool, and meetups as well. We run like several meetups in different cities, just for people to get to know each other and then learn about Bitcoin and know what is it about. Because again, education is number one priorities, as not only in Indonesia, but I guess around the world. People need to understand about what is Bitcoin and unlearn about what they have learned in the past before. So it's a huge task to overcome, but you just do it slowly, I guess.
It's a big journey also, like the learning, unlearning. And I was just curious because we're doing meetups as well, and I'm curious to hear from you. So this class, you call it Class Bitcoin, or in the Indonesian Bitcoin community, at what stage do people typically sort of join? Are they advanced in their stage? Are they at the beginning of the learning? Sort of, where do you see sort of the most sort of appetite to join?
Yeah, so we did a survey about our attendance. So last conference we have like 1,000 people attending the conference.
Wow. Okay.
And then
Wow.
yeah, it was we wish that we can accept more, but because of the platform, it was like a virtual conference, so like because of the platform capacity, we only can accept 1,000 people. So from that 1,000, I think 70% they just bought Bitcoin in the past year, or like they're quite new. And so it's kind of mixed. There are mostly people are new, but there are also people who have been dabbling into Bitcoins in 2013, for example. So it's kind of a mixed group, but majority, I guess in Indonesia, people are still quite new learning about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency.
Shows how early we are, right? Like 70%.
Sure.
That's yeah.
And you know what I've seen too, there, like in the US, and I'm sure in other countries, there's kind of the like coming for the gains and staying for the revolution. So I think that conversation is like particularly interesting in somewhere like Indonesia, and just the financial history and what, just all of the things that have taken place that have led to people being like, I need to get Bitcoin. So can you give us like I don't want to say give us a 30-second idea of what that was, but can you talk through maybe like those main points of like what has happened in the past in Indonesia to the currency with, the government?
And I've shared your article, your paper, with everyone in the family. I think it's a great paper. I learned so much. So it was, this one maybe when some people say, "Oh, Saifuddin's book was my moment," and some people say this podcast, but I'm like, no, this paper hit home for me. So
Oh,
thank you for
thank
writing.
you.
Thank you for writing it.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've been very curious about this topic actually, about in the Indonesia money history, because our history is pretty much correlated to what happened in the world, right? Like if you read in the article, because Indonesia is always in the middle of everything, in the middle of the first, the first world reserve currency, which is the Dutch, and then the British, and then now in the US. But like other countries, I guess, just to give general overview, is that like other countries that is being stuck in this transition from different global reserve currency, obviously it will have an effect for them. And Indonesia being a really young country, we just got independence in 1945, so it's not that long. So we are still trying to figure out what exactly our position and our strength, but also kind of swayed in this transition. In general, what happened in Indonesia is just, even since the kingdom era, before the colonial happened, it's just proof that every time the government trying to corrupt the money in terms of they will print more money, or they will make more of it, it will destroy the economy, will destroy people's livelihood and their saving. So it started in kingdoms when one of the biggest kingdom in Indonesia called Majapahit, they changed from gold money into a bronze coin, which is suddenly there are more of it. People think that they're rich, but actually they're losing value. And then that led to the collapse of the kingdom. And then also happening when the Dutch arrived, Indonesia it's stuck with really bad money, because we never got a chance to having a hard money for ourselves. Like it's always been taken away from us, or being replaced. Like it was started by a silverback money that it eventually become just a greenback money. And it seems like they have more, but obviously it's not the case. So that's what happened from the colonial time, the independence time, up until now. Indonesia, as everyone knows, we had hyperinflation in the 60s and also hyperinflation in the 1990s. And right now, the minimum wage in Indonesia is 2.5 million rupiah. And that's actually just $170 a month. So yeah, like I think
keep adding zeros.
Keep adding zeros, yeah. And this is people always kind of any tourists that come to Indonesia, they're always like, oh my god, there's so many zeros in this money. Like I don't know how you guys can do this.
Like this.
Like so many zeros, but this is the reality. Like if everyone in the US or everyone in other countries always think that, oh, this is only happening in Indonesia, this is only happening in Zimbabwe, this is only happening in Venezuela. No, this is going to happen everywhere around the world. For countries that still use fiat system, because there's nothing that can stop government to print money, because it's easy. And it's the only thing that they understand, and it's just because the government already stuck in a system that actually a bad system. So it's actually the people around them is not bad, but the system is bad, and this can create chaos. And it has been creating chaos in Indonesia. In 1965, there's a massacre happened because of the hyperinflation. Well, I mean, there is a communist influence arriving in Indonesia, but that create a political imbalance, and that also created hyperinflation, and then and then obviously it was, I think, around 600% of inflation.
Wow.
So can you imagine, like, you have this much money that you already save and suddenly it's just lose value minus 600%.
It loses value, or they lock the vaults and they're like, yeah, we need to hold on to it. Like, it's just so crazy.
It's crazy.
When you think about it. And what are people's like what is in like a typical an average Indonesian, what is their feeling towards their sentiment towards the government? Like, is there a lot of mistrust?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess in many developing countries, and especially like in Indonesia, corruption is still very rampant in the government. So people by default doesn't have that trust to the government. But at the same time, they are very compliant. They are very respect to the authority, I guess, but not having that much trust. So I guess in general, even back in I guess my grandma time, the only thing that Indonesian people can rely on is asset such as gold and land to make sure that they won't get like screwed by the policy or by the political situation or whatever happening. So that was
the advice of my grandmother every time. Buy gold and maybe get a piece of land, and that was always her philosophy around everything. Is so you have gold and land, you're good.
Gold and land, you're good. It's been passed on because that's the only thing that you can rely on. I mean, it makes sense. During our grandmother time, there are 4 currency that is circulating in Indonesia, and all 4 of them are being highly politicized. So if you accept one money, they will probably think either you are a traitor or you are actually I mean, if you also accept the other money, then it will lose value. So it's the only thing that they can rely on is gold. So that's why it makes sense that But with the current situation, obviously the millennials like me, it's really hard to buy land or buy properties. We can still buy gold, but again, gold has its own problem. Like, how do you store it? Like, if there is something happen, how can you travel with it? It's very complex situation. So this is why Bitcoin, I think, when people really understand about Bitcoin and then ignore all the noises and really understand what's happening, I think a lot of Indonesian will start accumulating Bitcoin, because I know there are more and more people are saving in Bitcoin in my generation right now, because they see it as a form of alternative to save their wealth. Like our grandparents has gold and land, our generation has Bitcoin, and then from that Bitcoin, maybe we can have gold and land too.
Yes.
Yeah, and one thing I think in your article that I thought was really impactful was, I think the moment you describe it, I think, was it around, I lost my train of thought here, but the rupiah has always been so. When I went in 2010, the last time I went to Indonesia, I think it was already 12 to 13,000 rupiah to a euro, I think, at the time. And so I was already at the time asking myself, like, surely no country starts a currency with like 14,000. You start one-on-one, but then the shit happens and it goes to like 14,000. But one thing I've noticed when you wrote about this transition from the Dutch colonial coin, I think, whatever guilder or type it was, and moving to the rupiah, and then the adoption of the debt of the new Indonesian government, of the Dutch government, it sort of made me realize that the rupiah never stood a chance. It was a currency that was already sort of pushed, like already had so much legacy shit in it,
Yeah.
never had a chance. And I wonder with Bitcoin, it's one of those things that is clean, like it sort of doesn't have the stain on it of just old debt and old things and the legacy baggage. Yeah, that is actually the cleanest solution. And I wonder, and my curiosity is a little bit around, do people see that as well in your conversation, in your community, that they sort of reassess the rupiah and say, yeah, actually, this is.
Well, I mean, that's we as Indonesian, we always know that because we have 100,000 bill to pay for meal. That's not that it's so weird and it's not normal, right? And I guess especially people in my generation who see that, like when the next hyperinflation, the last hyperinflation, it was 1998. So I was around 4th, 5th grade at that time. And I can see, like, you know, $1 was equal to 2,000 rupiah and suddenly jump into 16,000. Yeah. So there are a lot of
lessons at that age.
Yeah.
And do you count like this way? Well, I don't know. Just like
yes. Yeah, so there's a lot of distrust, I mean, in general, from Indonesian about our own currency. People save in different currency. They know it because in 1998, when that hyperinflationary Asia crisis happened, the only people who survive are the one who save their money in dollar, and then also have asset like gold or land. Anyone who save in rupiah, they are totally screwed because because of the different rate exchange, etc. But yeah, you are correct, Isaac. Because there's a lot of baggage in Indonesian rupiah. Our independence come at price. We have to pay debt, like we have to pay Dutch war debt actually in order for us to be independent. And it's not the founding fathers' fault. They tried their best, and I think they think that this is the only way. And even their ridiculous policy at that time, they're trying to do their best. But again, the fiat system is just inherently corrupt. So it's very hard to make a sound decision, and then like a decision that will put people first, because it's not putting people first, it put whoever printing the money first, right?
Yeah, it also requires winners and losers.
Yes,
there has to be a top and a bottom. It can't be like an egalitarian type of system. It won't. But it's like somebody was explaining mining to me and comparing it with printing, and they were like, you're overprinting money, and just like the whole process of mining really undermines the laws of physics.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, I never thought of it like that. Like we're literally trying to like tell the universe we know better. It's like this playing God thing, and it's wild. But yeah, historically they probably didn't have a better system, but now we do. So what are we doing about it?
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't want to take over the podcast.
No, but I want you. You guys should lead the conversation because you know more than I do. I'm like.
I was curious to hear a little bit about. My grandparents are from Indonesia, and then one was raised in Maluku, a different religion than my grandmother from Java. But I know that there are multiple religions in Indonesia, but dominant one is probably Islam. And how is that conversation in terms of like religion and Bitcoin? And does it play a role at all? Is it young generation not at all care about it? How does that work?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's been a wild ride about Bitcoin in Indonesia itself, because obviously the central bank doesn't want Bitcoin to take over. Once people understand about the importance and then also the beauty of Bitcoin, people will start jump on board. So that's why there are a lot of how do I say, like regulation or even like rumors and
The
also
propaganda.
exactly. Like for example, in 2019, yeah, 2019, the Bank of Indonesia created a law that actually it's illegal to accept money in Bitcoin. Like anything that you accept in Indonesia it has to be rupiah. And I understand because, you know, the moment all of Indonesians start saving and then also receiving and sending money in Bitcoin, that's it for rupiah. Rupiah doesn't stand a chance. So I understand. And then the second thing, it's obviously Indonesia, like Isaac said, I think around 70% are predominantly Muslim. So there are a lot of worries about whether Bitcoin is halal or is it haram. And in Indonesia itself, like I said in the beginning, that a lot of people fall into scam. A lot of people, they jump board on shitcoin. A lot of people gambling their money without understanding about what is it. And it's also a bit hard because the government, they decided to create some kind of regulation, but they also doesn't understand what they are regulating actually. So like
it's like there's a disease. There's a disease like in people's minds, in the government's minds everywhere. They don't know what they're regulating.
No.
Yeah, so they, like for example, Indonesia, they have this regulation of coins that can be traded in Indonesia. There are I think the list was 200 and then now it's going up to 500 coins that they say that can be traded in Indonesia. But most of them are shitcoin, right? Except for Bitcoin.
Wow.
So like people who doesn't understand and then they want to get some kind of safety by following some regulation, by following what the government said, and then they fall for a scam. So yeah, basically in Indonesia, there are some kind of conversation about this among the Muslim community about whether cryptocurrency is halal or haram. And then one of our member in the community actually went on television and then just defending that, first of all, everyone needs to divide it. You know, there is cryptocurrency, there's Bitcoin, and the way that this work, it's totally different.
Yeah.
And but again, the Islamic community, for people who don't understand, they just see that a lot of people got scammed. A lot of people actually gambling their money in hope for a return. So that's why they create a fatwa that it's haram, like cryptocurrency is haram. But if people like understand and then learn through it, we even like create an open letter to the Islamic Council about.
Okay.
Wow. I know Saifuddin, when I've read about like Islamic economics and stuff, I'm like, it's so fascinating. I'm like, you have to make sure to ask her about that.
Yeah. I mean, we even have a section during the conference about Bitcoin case, like halal case for Bitcoin. So the people, like if anyone who's listened here are Muslim and then really worried about that, one thing that you need to know is that if you buy and then save in Bitcoin, that's basically a final transaction, because in Islam, they don't want riba, right? They don't want anything that has interest, and all the transaction needs to be final. I give you money, you give me goods. That's what like a halal transaction. And therefore, like when you invest in Bitcoin, you have to if you want to do it like in halal way, then you need to know that if you save in Bitcoin, if you just like dollar cost averaging, if you accepting money, if you're accepting payment in Bitcoin, receiving, that's halal. But
Yeah.
if you, when you start staking, when you start when you start staking, when you start maybe using Bitcoin for loans or something like that, or even trading with margins, that's haram. So people just need to understand, first of all, they need to understand what is the halal way of doing things, and then they need to assess how they're going to do about it, rather than just judging everything that it's haram because they see different cases in cryptocurrency, different cases in shitcoin, like that.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because I think that these are levels of, I wouldn't say objection, or levels of like resistance towards adoption. And it's something so interesting that the really is a big difference per country in how this adoption sort of happens and sort of what barriers need to be overcome. And it's so interesting to hear that compared to here in the US or in the Netherlands. I think it's not even a consideration, right?
People are like, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that's why it's, I mean, I'm not Muslim, and I've read so much of Saifedean's work on Islamic economics because it's really fascinating. And each religion has their, I know in Judaism, they have similar principles that govern certain things around money. And it's, but there are people in central banks who are like, oh, I know I could use this against people. These are my people. I know what levers to pull on to be like, you can't do that. You don't want to be, sinning, or whatever the word is.
Yeah.
Catholics, we say sinning.
Yeah. I mean, it's a, that's basically their strategy, like if you cannot stop it, just make a lot of noise, and then makes people confused, because then you're flooded with lies and then propagandas, and people start doubting themselves, and then they don't put any action because or either they don't do anything, or they decided they follow what is their narrative, right? So that's the only strategy that people can do, these people can do, basically. And I mean, with Saifedean and talking about like Islamic economy, actually what Bitcoin does is very, very aligned with Islamic economy. And if people really learn about that, like learn about Islamic economy, at least in the beginning, and then see what is the difference between the current fiat system that is based on riba, that is based on debt. No matter what you're going to do, even if you have Islamic banking, you are still using the same kind of money, and it's still riba, right? So
the fractional reserve banking is that's the bedrock of the system. So you're already, doing the bad things, committing the sins.
Yeah. And by the way, our third household member just joined the call.
Bitcoiner, because he'll start barking.
Yes, and we have to keep them like.
Okay, so cute.
Yeah. So what? Having said all that we talked about, what would be the message that you have to anyone in the West who thinks that Bitcoin is not necessary? Like someone who may watch this and be like, "Well, but not in Europe, but not in America."
Yeah, well, majority of the world are actually consists of developing countries and undeveloped countries. Yeah. And you just see it, at least from my perspective, in Indonesia, for example, we are an archipelago country. We have so many natural resources, abundant food, like anyone can think about. We have all the minerals, and we are supposed to be the richest country in the world. But by using wrong type of money, you can get screwed. Like you don't have that leverage. And we have that history already that our money is being devalued, and we got hyperinflation happened throughout our history, it's actually broken down families and also like creating problems even in a family or even in the larger scale. Everyone in Indonesia never thought that this is going to happen, but it happened. And the same thing, it's the same thing that like people in Venezuela, they thought that they are living their best, and then suddenly their money gone. And it's gonna happen because everyone in the country that this already happened thought that it never happened. It will never happen in my country. So just because people in the developed countries already think that they already have, established everything, doesn't mean it won't happen to them. So I guess the only thing that we can do is to change the system, like all the problems that we have right now, obesities, I don't know, war, and maybe education problems, everything. It's just start by using a corrupt money, using a money that is not served for the people, because the money itself is being used against us. That's what I can just sum up. So if you want to fix the problems in your world currently right now, you need to fix the money first. And it's to fix the money, start from ourselves. So we just need to at least to own the good money. Like we have to separate which one is the bad money and the good money. And then one of the good money is Bitcoin, the one that cannot be corrupted, cannot be controlled, uncensorable, and is actually very egalitarian. Like anyone can use it. Anyone from different classes, anyone from around the world can use it. And everyone have the same, they have the same path. And they have, the path is just that you basically got freedom from not tying yourself in the debt-based money. Because when you use the debt-based money, like what we currently have right now with the fiat system, we are always rely upon other people in the system to decide what is the future for us. So if you want to set up your own future, if you want to create a better life for yourself, you need to start being responsible and start learning about what exactly the good and the bad money.
Yes, very well said.
Yeah, I think it's interesting also hearing all of like when you mentioned the natural resource. Indonesia has such a history of colonialization, but also being robbed from its great resources. Then the country has independence, but then takes on the debt, and it's still being robbed in some shape or form from its true wealth for its citizens, right? There's just never been a proper way to get out of that. And to see Bitcoin have such quality sort of use case and longevity, it has the ability to power through all of those obstacles. It's just really, really interesting and cool to see that there is a system out there that is basically perfect, right, from that perspective.
Exactly.
So
and everyone just need to first to start saving, to start by yourself, save and learn about it. And once you learn about it, you just start talking about it, because you never know if anyone is actually going to be being helped by this. Because like we just need to wake up. We just need to wake up with the current reality of what is our current money that we've been using. Because like money is a currency. A currency is like flow, like everything flow based on the money that we are currently using right now. So yeah.
Yeah. So the last question that we ask everyone, because this is obviously this is an extremist Bitcoin. We are very pro Bitcoin. So we don't want to work in an echo chamber. So we ask everyone, what's the maybe one thing that enough people aren't talking about in Bitcoin? Maybe what's the one thing people aren't paranoid enough about, or something that you're nervous could happen?
Risk, right?
Well, my biggest, I think my biggest risk is for people to not dive deep enough about Bitcoin and then get buried with all these noises, and then they just follow, I don't know, like the people's narrative, like the high people narrative, that Bitcoin is bad for the environment, that Bitcoin is this and that. And yeah, I think that's my biggest concern, when if a lot of people kind of stuck in that mindset, or yeah, because these noises will always be there, and then this is the only thing that they can do. They will do, and they will create regulation for sure that based on those noises, and it will make it harder for Bitcoiners to save their money. And I personally think, like, just always have Bitcoin and custody yourself, if you can, just to get Bitcoin out of a KYC, because KYC, that's the that's probably one thing that I feel concerning about Bitcoin, is that the fact that right now everyone need to know who owns Bitcoin, and when Bitcoin become very scarce and very valuable, that can be a weapon against whoever using Bitcoin, whoever owning Bitcoin. So always self-custody your Bitcoin, if as best as you can. Yeah.
Use those Bitcoin ATMs.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So we're going to link to all of your information, your classes, your meetups, everything. Can you give us just your Twitter handle and,
where people can follow you?
Where people can follow along with you?
So my Twitter handle is Dea Rezkitha, at DeaRezkitha. And for the classes, you can visit Class Bitcoin, KELAS Bitcoin, Class Bitcoin, which is basically in Bahasa Indonesia is Bitcoin classes.
Wonderful. All right, cool. Well, Dea, you've been a wonderful guest. Thank you so much for all the education.
Thank you so much for inviting, and talk to you guys. It's been very fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely want to do more of this.
Yes,
of course.
we will. All right.
Okay, bye-bye.